Hello traders. So the pound has remained largely supported following that hawkish rate cut by the Bank of England last week. And tomorrow we'll have some important economic data from the UK, namely CPI is coming out. And CPI is expected to print 3.7% on the headline front, which would be a small rise from the 3.6% rate recorded in the previous month. This will come ahead of FOMC minutes later in the day, putting the pound against the US dollar into sharp focus. We'll then have some global PMI data, including UK manufacturing and services PMIs. But the main event this week is potentially the Powell speech on Friday at the Jackson Hole Symposium, which could move the US dollar quite sharply. So there's lots to look forward to, but we'll start off by looking at a pound cross, and specifically the pound yen cross, which is looking quite interesting. It rallied last week, hitting resistance at that 200 psychologically important level before pulling back a little bit. But the V-shaped recovery suggests that more gains could be on the way in the coming days. But at the time of recording, it was consolidating its gains, holding steady above the 21-day exponential moving average and short-term support at around 199 level. So that area is going to be very important to watch for as long as we hold above this 199. The path of least resistance on the pound yen remains to the upside. And if we go on to break that 200 level in the coming days, then from there we could be eyeing the 202 level next, which was the base of this area of support prior to the breakdown back in July of 2024. And then above that, there's the psychologically important 205 level around here somewhere. And then we could be talking about the highs from the previous year thereafter if the rally continues, which comes in at 208.11. So there's lots of room to the upside, but a lot will now depend on economic data from the UK. If data continues to remain supportive, this should keep the pound supported across the curve, especially against currencies where the central bank is deemed to be more on the dovish side than the UK central bank. As far as the cable itself is concerned, well, this currency pair is also consolidating its recent gains after breaking out of this falling wedge pattern to the upside and breaking lots of resistance levels, including that 135 level, which is now being tested from above as potential support. So far, it looks like the cable is holding its own above this area, and if it can now move on to break the double top high here at 135.88, then that could pave the way for 137 next, with the July high of 137.88 coming up after that. In terms of potential support levels to watch below 135, the 134.34 level, marking the September 2024 high, is the next key level to watch on the downside. Below that is this shaded grey region. And then if we were to go below that area, then at that point, things will start to look a little bit more bearish for the cable. One other pound cross that is catching my attention is the pound against the New Zealand dollar. The New Zealand dollar is going to be in focus because we will have the RBNZ trade decision coming up in the early hours of Wednesday's session. So keep an eye on this currency pair, which could move quite sharply depending on what the RBNZ does and how the UK CPI that will be released shortly after during the London hours will look like. So key level to watch then is this blue line here at around 227.50-ish, which was resistance on a number of occasions before we finally broke through it on Thursday of last week on the back of that Bank of England rate decision. So this level is very important. In fact, it's a range of potential support which comes in all the way from around here, I would say, as I draw this rectangle box on the chart. The shaded blue area is where I would expect the pound New Zealand to potentially bounce from and head higher. But if the pound New Zealand were to break below this area in the coming days, then at that point we'll have to drop our bullish view on this currency pair. Now, for more market insights and analysis, make sure to check out the news and analysis section at cityindex.com. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.